Time is more valuable than money. While you can always earn more money, you can never get back lost time. Yet many people still don't use their time wisely. They often waste it by talking excessively without accomplishing anything. This is one of the biggest time-wasting habits in the world when people want to waste your time. They might spend hours chatting about unimportant things, or they might waste time on their computers or phones, watching movies at home, shopping unnecessarily, lingering over coffee breaks, arriving late, leaving early, or taking extra long lunch breaks. How are you feeling about this? Does it make you uncomfortable? It's normal to feel that way because over time that feeling can become a habit. You see, as humans, we naturally prefer doing things that make us feel good or comfortable. So when we keep choosing activities like hanging out with friends, enjoying a cup of coffee, or eating out, things that give us pleasure, we might gradually spend less time working. Eventually, the typical person might not work much at all. That's because we tend to lean towards what feels good rather than what requires effort. That's the power of influence. If you want to earn more money, you need to create more value or do more work. In the world of work, two things are incredibly valuable: time and knowledge. Time represents the duration spent on tasks, while knowledge encompasses what one understands about various subjects. Nowadays, time is like the currency of modern businesses, serving as a measure of work significance. It's essential and typically measured by duration and speed. However, beyond merely understanding time, feeling a sense of urgency is crucial. Urgency involves responding swiftly to significant opportunities, like seizing the moment. Successful individuals embody this trait, working diligently and swiftly to avoid wasting time. It's essential for everyone to prioritize speeding up tasks. Customers are willing to pay more for quick service. Think about eagerly waiting for something important. Wouldn't you pay extra for fast delivery? This demand highlights the importance of speed in meeting needs. However, here's a secret to effective time management. You gain more control over your life when you start saying no to things. That means stopping some activities altogether. It might sound counterintuitive, but by cutting out less important minor tasks, you free up time and energy to focus on what truly matters. Successful people know what's really important and what's not. When you're deciding which tasks to stop doing, a good trick is to use something called the 80-20 rule. It's easy. If you list 10 things you need to do, probably only 2 of them are super important. That's like saying 20% of what you do gets you 80% of your results. So ask yourself, what are those 1 or 2 things on my list that are really, really important? If I had to pick just one thing to do before going away for a month, what would it be? That's your top priority for the day. Concentrate on those significant tasks and you'll maximize your time. I've learned to prioritize over the years, and it all boils down to one thing: identifying the most important task right now and diving into it immediately. Once you've started, keep going until it's done. It requires discipline and focus, but it's the best way to make progress on what truly matters. If you find yourself tackling minor tasks before the major ones, you'll notice those minor tasks piling up. Your entire day can slip away dealing with small things, leaving you feeling like you haven't accomplished much. So prioritize the big stuff first. Begin with the task that's the most significant, even if it's not the most enjoyable, and stick with it until it's completed. If you can develop the habit of organizing your tasks by priority, starting with the most important one at the top of your list and working your way down, you'll instantly double your productivity for that day by completing the most critical task first. And if you maintain this habit, you'll keep doubling your productivity throughout your entire career. It's all about channeling your energy into what matters most and steadily progressing towards your goals. Mr. Schwaff always advised me, "Jim, don't trust your memory. Instead, write things down." When I started observing successful people in my early days, a recurring theme in discussions about them was their exceptional organizational skills. People would often remark, "Oh, they're super organized. They get so much done. They're really efficient." And you know what? They always seem to have a list they're working from. This got me thinking, why is time management such a big deal for successful people? Then it clicked. If you can't handle your time well, it's tough to achieve success, because if time slips away from you, so does control over your life. And without control over your life, it's hard to manage anything else effectively. Time management isn't just about getting stuff done. It's about taking charge of your life and making things happen. Ever since I met Mr. Schwab, I've immersed myself in exploring the realm of time management. Over that time, I've invested loads of money, countless hours, and shelves full of books into learning about it. Through all of this, I've discovered that at the heart of time management lies something crucial: priorities. I believe that being able to concentrate and focus are the real secrets to succeeding in life. It's all about having a clear vision of what you want to achieve and being able to concentrate fully on that goal without getting sidetracked or distracted. This laser-like focus is what separates the highly effective from the rest. And one powerful tool in this arsenal is something called the 80/20th rule, which helps you identify the most important tasks and prioritize them accordingly. Remind yourself, which of the things I need to do are the most important ones, making up 80% of the value of my work? Then focus your efforts on those top 20% tasks. In life, there's always a shortage of time to get everything done, but there's always enough time for the essential tasks. Instead of getting caught up in what's fun and easy, which is what most people tend to do, they end up making a list of all their tasks and start working from the bottom up, often on things that don't really matter. By the end of the day, they haven't made much progress. On the other hand, successful people, those who achieve peak performance, prioritize those top items. It's crucial to remember that anything else besides focusing on that top task is just a waste of your precious time. Time management isn't just about managing time, it's about managing your whole life. If you can master time management, you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. Either you run the day or the day runs you. What sets successful people apart is their ability to concentrate on what truly matters. Focusing your energy and training yourself to stay determined on one task at a time is a key trait of successful people throughout history. Nothing remarkable has been achieved without the ability to concentrate fully on one thing at a time. It's crucial to always prioritize how you spend your time wisely. In fact, being able to manage your time effectively is one of the most important skills linked to success and accomplishment in all areas of life. It can help you stand out to your bosses more quickly, increase your productivity, boost your self-esteem, and even lead to faster promotions and higher pay. Good time management isn't just about being productive. It's also essential for your well-being. Feeling in control of your time and your life is key to reducing stress. In fact, one of the biggest reasons for stress in America is the feeling of being overwhelmed and having too much to do with too little time. Overall, the quality of life improves significantly when you're able to manage your time effectively. So remember, time management isn't just about getting stuff done. It's about taking control of your life and making things happen. If you can concentrate on what truly matters and prioritize your tasks accordingly, you'll find that you can accomplish more than you ever thought possible. Before you start doing anything, ask yourself a simple question. What's the most important thing I could be doing with my time right now? Make a habit of asking yourself this question regularly. Whether you're getting into your car, leaving your house, or stepping out of the office, take a moment to think about it. Keep repeating this question to yourself until it becomes a habit. Like a command your mind follows without even thinking about it. So whenever you're tempted to do something that's not really important, that command will come into your head, reminding you to focus on what truly matters. And you know what's great? When you're working on something important, you feel fantastic. Concentrating your efforts on meaningful tasks gives you a burst of energy and excitement. On the other hand, it makes you feel nothing when you're working on something irrelevant. Don't be lazy. Take action now. However, sometimes you may find it easy to procrastinate. Procrastination not only steals your time, but also robs you of opportunities and experiences in life. It's crucial to develop a habit of acting promptly when there's work to be done. Building a reputation for being swift and dependable is essential. One remarkable advantage of having a sense of urgency and moving swiftly is that the quicker you work, the more you improve. Speed leads to increased experience, learning, and ultimately greater competence. Moreover, moving quickly enhances your energy and enthusiasm. Successful people tend to accomplish more than those who are less successful. They possess some commendable habits. They don't limit their dreams. Instead, they dream big and ensure to jot down their goals, keeping them focused on their objectives. They maintain a high level of concentration on the tasks at hand, pursuing activities they're passionate about and continually striving to enhance their skills. Leveraging their innate talents, They consistently push themselves to excel. They are adept at generating innovative solutions to challenges, contributing to their company's prosperity. Moreover, they excel at utilizing every minute effectively, maximizing the outcomes from their time. This distinguishing trait sets successful people apart. They maintain their focus on their goals and tirelessly work towards achieving them. Having a sense of urgency in life is crucial, yet only a small fraction of people, approximately 2%, possess this quality. These individuals are known for their promptness and readiness to take action. In Tom Peters' insightful book, In Search of Excellence, he emphasizes that the most outstanding companies share a common attribute, a sense of urgency. These companies are always prepared to act swiftly and complete tasks promptly. Conversely, less successful companies tend to procrastinate and act only when convenient. When dealing with certain companies regarding a problem or complaint, the response time can be exasperatingly long, often taking 3 or 4 weeks to address. However, exceptional companies present a starkly different scenario. Upon reaching out with an issue, they promptly respond, with someone available to assist within minutes. For instance, contacting IBM or Hewlett-Packard for computer-related troubles demonstrates this efficiency. They ensure the issue is resolved without delay. In contrast, other companies may evade responsibility, citing excuses like, "It's not my job," or "the person in charge is unavailable," highlighting their lack of urgency and accountability. Surprisingly, despite the prevalence of such inefficient practices, about 80% of profits in almost every industry stem from just 20% of companies. Therefore, cultivating a sense of urgency and establishing a reputation for prompt and reliable action is essential. Once recognized for one's speed and dependability, opportunities are more likely to present themselves, leading to further success. You see, how you manage your time is entirely within your control. It all boils down to the choices you make. You can opt to be organized and efficient, or you can allow things to become disorganized. You can choose to focus on the most crucial tasks that truly matter, or you can squander time on trivial matters. You can opt to maintain a positive attitude, or you can allow negativity to take over. The fact is, you're always free to make these choices. Now, if you wish to enhance your time management skills, the first step is to make a clear decision. You must decide right here and now that you want to excel in managing your time. You must commit to becoming an expert in this area to elevate the quality of your life. Your objective should be to manage your time so effectively that others look up to you as a role model for efficient work habits. Now, here are some helpful tips for enhancing your time management and achieving a good balance between work and personal life. The first technique is to train your mind for better time management through positive self-talk or positive affirmation. These are like commands that you give to your subconscious mind, shaping your thoughts and behaviors. Positive affirmations are simple statements that you repeat to yourself, either aloud or silently, with enthusiasm and emotion. The aim is to genuinely believe in what you're saying so that it becomes deeply ingrained in your subconscious as a new way of thinking and acting. The second technique to program your subconscious mind is through visualization. This entails creating vivid mental images that profoundly influence your subconscious. In psychology, there's a notion that your self-image, how you perceive yourself, closely correlates with who you become. Therefore, by combining positive affirmations with vivid mental images, you can envision yourself as someone who is highly organized, efficient, and adept at managing time. One method is to recall and replay memories of yourself when you were performing at your peak. Reflect on instances when you felt exceptionally efficient, effective, and completely in control. Visualize yourself effortlessly handling a hefty workload, completing tasks like a seasoned professional. Replay these mental images repeatedly until they become ingrained in your subconscious. Eventually, your subconscious will accept these images as your reality, and you'll naturally begin to embody these qualities in your daily life. The third time management technique is straightforward. Find a quiet spot where you can be undisturbed. Then, using positive affirmations, envision yourself navigating a significant upcoming event, such as a meeting, presentation, negotiation, or perhaps even a date. Whatever the event, visualize it unfolding flawlessly, akin to a movie playing in your mind. Picture yourself remaining calm, optimistic, and entirely in control throughout the entire scenario. Envision everyone else involved behaving precisely as you'd like them to, creating an ideal scenario. The fourth mental technique will transform your life's quality through the experience of time management. Imagine you've been cast in a movie or stage play. In this role, you're portraying a character who is exceptionally well organized in every aspect. As you go about your daily life, imagine yourself as an actor embodying this role, already proficient in time management. Act as though you're utilizing your time efficiently and effectively. Pretend that you're an expert in personal efficiency and time management. Fake it until you make it. When you act as if you excel in time management, over time, your actions, which are within your direct control, will shape a mindset or belief in your subconscious. Essentially, you can embody the feeling and belief of being excellent in time management through your actions. It's important to maintain a sense of urgency in your actions. If you have a promising idea, avoid procrastination or hesitation, which only hinder progress. Take immediate action. Avoid delays. Waste no time. Act promptly without hesitation. By doing so, you'll continue moving forward and making strides towards your objectives. Ask people why they procrastinate, and you'll often hear something like this. I'm a perfectionist. Everything has to be just right before I can get down to work. No distractions, not too much noise, no telephone calls interrupting me. And of course, I have to be feeling well physically too. I can't work when I have a headache. The other end of procrastination, being unable to finish, also has a perfectionist explanation. I'm just never satisfied. I'm my own harshest critic. If all the I's aren't dotted and all the T's aren't crossed, I just can't consider that I'm done. That's just the way I am, and I'll probably never change. Do you see what's going on here? A fault is being turned into a virtue. The perfectionist is saying that his standards are just too high for this world. This fault into virtue syndrome is a common defense when people are called upon to discuss their weaknesses, but in the end, it's just a very pious kind of excuse-making. It certainly doesn't have anything to do with what's really behind procrastination. The basis of procrastination could be fear of failure. That's what extreme perfectionism really is. Once you take a hard look at it, what's the difference? Whether you're afraid of being less than perfect or afraid of anything else, you're still paralyzed by fear. Whether you never start or never finish, you're still stuck. You're still going nowhere. You're still overwhelmed by whatever task is before you. You're still allowing yourself to be dominated by a negative vision of the future in which you see yourself being criticized, laughed at, punished, or ridden out of town on a rail. Of course, this negative vision of the future is really a mechanism that allows you to do nothing. It's a very convenient mental tool. Well, I'm going to tell you how to overcome procrastination. I'm going to show you how to turn procrastination into perseverance. And if you do what I suggest, the process will be virtually painless. I'm going to be very specific about how you can do this. A moment ago, I referred to a negative vision of the future as a mental tool for inactivity. If you've been using that tool, I'm going to ask you to put it aside and start using two other very powerful principles that foster productivity and perseverance instead of passivity and procrastination. The first principle is break it down. No matter what you're trying to accomplish, whether it's writing a book, climbing a mountain, or painting a house, the key to achievement is your ability to break down the path into manageable pieces and knock them off one at a time. Focus on accomplishing what's right in front of you at this moment and ignore what's off in the distance. Substitute real-time positive thinking for negative future visualization. That's the first all-important technique for bringing an end to procrastination. Suppose I were to ask you if you could write a 400-page novel. If you're like most people, that would be an impossible task. As soon as I asked you that question, a picture appears in your mind of a big, fat book lying on a coffee table. Hundreds and hundreds of words covering every page. Yes, somebody must have written the book that you see in your mind's eye, but that person surely wasn't you. But suppose I asked you a different question. Suppose I ask if you can write a page and a quarter a day for 1 year. Do you think you could do it now? The task is starting to seem more manageable. We're breaking down the 400-page book into bite-sized pieces. But even so, I suspect many people would still find the prospect intimidating. Do you see why? Writing a page and a quarter may not seem so bad, but you're being asked to look ahead 1 whole year. When people start to look that far ahead, many of them automatically go into a negative mode. So let me formulate the idea of writing a book in yet another way. Let me break it down even more. Suppose I were to ask you, Can you fill up a page and a quarter with words? Not for a year, not for a month, not even for a week, but just today. Don't look any further ahead than that. I believe most people would confidently declare that they could accomplish that. And of course, these would be the same people who feel totally incapable of writing a whole book. Then if I said the same thing to those people tomorrow, if I told them, I don't want you to look back. I don't want you to look ahead. I just want you to fill up a page and a quarter this day. Do you think you can do it? One day at a time. You've probably heard that phrase. That's what we're doing here. We're breaking the time required for a major task down into one-day segments, and we're breaking the work involved in writing a 400-page book down into page and a quarter increments. Keep this up for 1 year, and you'll write the book. Discipline yourself to look neither forward nor backward, and you can accomplish things you never thought you could possibly do. One of the beauties of this technique is the fact that you can really take it to the extremes if you have to. If writing a page and a quarter during 1 day still seems too much for you, break it down even more. Try to write 3 sentences in the next hour. Don't look any further ahead than that. Come up with a way of looking at the task that finally seems manageable. Then all you have to do is persevere. Procrastination won't be a problem because the task is now so small that fear will kick in. And it all begins with those 3 words. Break it down. My second technique for defeating procrastination is also only 3 words long. The 3 words are, write it down. We've seen how important writing is to goal setting. The writing you'll do for beating procrastination is very similar, but instead of focusing on the future, you are now going to be writing about the present just as you experience it every day. Instead of describing the things that you want to do or the places you want to go, you're going to describe what you actually do with your time, and you're going to keep a written record of the places you actually go. In other words, you're going to keep a diary of your activity, and you're going to be amazed by the distractions, detours, and downright waste of time that you come up with during the course of the day. All of these get in the way of achieving your goals. For many people, it's almost like they planned it that way, and maybe at some unconscious level they did. The great thing about keeping a time diary is that it brings all this out in the open. It forces you to see what you're actually doing and what you're not doing. The time diary doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Just buy a little spiral notebook that you can easily carry in your pocket. When you go to lunch, when you drive across town, when you go to the dry cleaners, when you spend some time shooting the breeze at the coffee machine, make a quick note of the time you began the activity and the time it ended. Try to make this notation as soon as possible, but if it's inconvenient to do it immediately, you can do it later. However, you should make an entry in your time diary at least once every 30 minutes, and you should keep this up for at least a week. What else do you have to do to gain the benefits of this extremely powerful productivity technique? Nothing. You don't have to do anything else at all. It's just a process for making yourself aware of how you actually spend your time. You will naturally and effortlessly begin to reorganize your life. Perhaps that seems like too much to believe, but it's true. When you're forced to write down the fact that you hung out at the coffee machine for 15 minutes today, you'll think twice about doing that again tomorrow. When you got to put it in writing that you worked on an important project for 30 minutes today and then took a break to read the newspaper, you'll persevere a little longer on the project tomorrow and forget about the newspaper. Just try keeping a time diary for 1 week and you'll see how it can revolutionize your ability to focus and achieve your goals. Break it down, write it down, very easy to understand, very straightforward. But these are powerful and effective productivity techniques. This is how you put an end to procrastination. This is how you get yourself started. But how do you keep going? How do you keep your motivation consistently high? How do you learn to persevere when the novelty wears off and you're still some distance from your goal? We'll talk about that in a moment. The Irish poet William Butler Yeats once wrote a poem describing some of the unfortunate characteristics of the modern world. One of the things Yeats noticed was that bad people seem to have the most energy, while good people become discouraged and doubtful of their own ability. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are filled with a passionate intensity. Those are the words Yeats used. It's true that we can look around the world and see all sorts of things happening that we might wish were not happening. There are people working very hard to make those things happen for reasons that we might not admire. When we see that, it's easy to start saying, what's the use? what hope do I really have? Why don't I just give up on all the things I've been trying to accomplish and start taking it easy? Even people of strong character feel that way sometimes. All of us have moments like that. That's when perseverance gets really, really tough. What's the answer? Well, you recall that during our discussion of goal setting, I asked you to list 5 categories for your long-term goals. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? What do you want to see? What do you want to have? Where do you want to go? Now I want you to add another one. With whom do you want to share? In other words, who are you working for besides yourself? In the first 5 categories, you were asked to focus exclusively on your own aspirations and why they were important to you. But now I want you to think in terms of other people. Who is depending on you? Who will benefit if you persevere and succeed? Who will suffer if you give up and stop trying? Who can you reach out to and help once you've achieved your goal? Write down answers to these questions, just like you wrote answers for the other categories. For many people, the answers will appear quite readily. If you have a family, your spouse and your children are depending on you. Perhaps even your parents are depending on you now if they're elderly and require some care. But even if you're a single person or just starting out in your career, you can think of reasons to persevere and succeed that go beyond your personal needs. Maybe you would like to share some of your financial success with the schools that educated you, with the religious institutions that gave you spiritual guidance, or with a hospital that helped to heal you on some occasion. This sharing doesn't have to be limited to money either. If your work has given you certain skills, you can share your time and your abilities. You can, and you should. But even this isn't putting it strongly enough. It isn't just that you'll do better if you feel you're working for others in addition to yourself. You absolutely must find reasons outside yourself to persevere if you want to keep going when the going gets tough. Hemingway wrote, "A man alone hasn't got a chance." And that doesn't mean only that you need people to help you in life. It means also that you need people you can help. You need people who can become the real reason for perseverance above and beyond your material possessions or your financial success. What's in it for me? Can only take you so far. What's in it for somebody besides me? Can take you as far as you need to go. Well, there is only one way to make time work for you, not against you, and that's with patience. There have been some items in the news lately about changes in the climate, global warming, and so forth, and how the level of the seas will rise during the coming years and put whole communities underwater that now stand high and dry. All I can tell you is that in certain parts of the country it's been plenty hot and dry the last few summers. And I'm sure there have been times when the residents of those areas would have liked to have seen some big ocean waves come rolling across the plain. Think for a moment about any state that's in the middle of this continent away from the coast and ponder this question. What do you suppose it would take to turn that state into a kind of surfer's paradise so when it gets hot, you could just go out and let the waves cool you off? For example, what would you need in order to turn Texas into California? If you take the perspective of an engineer, you'd maybe think about the water rights, the dams, and all the good stuff. You'd need the kind of undertaking that would make the Hoover Dam in Lake Mead look like a little inflatable backyard swimming pool. From that perspective, the whole notion's not only impractical, it's impossible. But if you believe everything that's been written about global warming and rising water, you realize that it isn't really an impossible proposition. In fact, some people are saying it's inevitable. You don't need any water rights or dams to see it happen either. All you need is patience. Here's another illustration of the power of patience. Imagine you're at a cottage in New England when a blizzard hits, with more snow and less time than any other winter on record. If you went to bed in the middle of this blizzard, you'd probably assume that when you got up, you'd have to shovel the drifts away from the front door just to get on this. You may even started on work before you go to bed. But in this case, as it turns out, all that bedtime effort wouldn't have been necessary. Overnight, the wind keeps blowing and sleep. It shifts around 80 degrees, so all the snow on your front porch is cleared away. Naturally, you don't have to knock yourself out with a shovel. You may be saving yourself from a stiff back or a heart attack, and all you had to do was wait. Patience. There's a type of person for whom everything is undertaken out of a desire to achieve a goal. They prepare food in order to eat it, not just for the fun of being in the kitchen. They start a business in order to make money. They exercise in order to get in shape. I'm sure that some of these people are very successful and they are certainly highly organized. But in my opinion, a person of truly strong character sees success as an adventure, not as a point with an estimated time of arrival. The latter approach to me is impatient thinking. Impatient thinking can lead a person into some very big mistakes. First of all, when you are always looking somewhere else, whether it's down the road, up toward the top of the mountain, or off toward the horizon, you have a hard time paying attention to the very moment and place you happen to be in right now. For certain people, this doesn't matter, but I think it should matter. If it's always January, it must mean that you're failing to celebrate the other months of the year. Impatience can also create the desire to take the easy way out. And that's the kind of temptation that can lead to any number of other things that will hurt your chances for future success. When you feel that time is slipping away and you simply don't have enough of it to complete your work, you may be tempted to cheat or steal in order to finish the job. When you feel that time is running out and you haven't achieved all your goals, you may be tempted to go for the quick fix or the shortcut. You may take on a huge debt in order to buy something you haven't earned yet. You may put yourself into the hands of unscrupulous people who say they can help you get what you want. You may even become impatient with people who love you because you see them as obstacles to your ambitions. People of character know that success is built upon a foundation of long-term relationships, not short-term transactions. They realize that building anything worthwhile requires patience, and they aren't willing to sacrifice their integrity or their principles for quick results. Success that comes too easily or too quickly almost never lasts. For people who achieve that kind of success, there's always a lurking feeling that they haven't really earned it, and that feeling eats away at their character. If they're lucky and smart, they create some new challenge for themselves in a totally unfamiliar field. These people have to build their character in order to survive their sudden good fortune. And that's the kind of character building that's done in an emergency. In fact, it's a true case of the cart coming before the horse. This doesn't require patience because there is no waiting or planning or even expectation involved. It's more a test of a person's upbringing than a test of character. We've seen how often the qualities of a strong character demand the presence of opposite qualities in an almost paradoxical way. Patience is no exception. Patience does not mean wait till next year. It means this year, but if not, next year for sure. I think Thomas Edison put it best. Everything comes to him who waits, but it comes sooner to him who hustles while he's waiting. 10 years from now, you will surely become someone. The big question is who? What are you becoming? If you start working on it now, you can take a new direction and become the kind of person you want to be in a very short period of time. There's a very important question to ask. 10 years from now, you will surely arrive, but where? To answer the question of where you want to arrive and the kind of person you want to be, you've got to get serious. And starting today, get excited about committing to positive, constructive actions to make the changes you want in your life and go in the direction you want to go. Get excited about your potential. Human capacity is rarely the problem. Little children can learn several languages, and we can learn to do the most incredible things. All we need is to take the time to do it. It's not a matter of capacity, it's a matter of judgment, excitement, will, and wanting it badly enough. It's exciting to know that any day you wish, you can change your life. Any day you pick, you can make major changes. It doesn't ever have to be the same again. That's exciting, knowing that intellectually and personally, you can do things that will make major changes in your life. There are so many things to work on, and if you don't get busy, time will pass. 5 years from now, you'll wind up where you don't want to be, wearing what you don't want to wear, driving what you don't want to drive, and being what you don't want to be. Now is the time to fix it. Here's number 3. You've got to get going. All the things you've learned won't do you much good if you don't put them into an action plan. In my management and leadership seminar, we teach game plans. How to put all the good things you've learned into action, economic action, social action, personal action. You need to know how to make changes and actually do the work. That's the key. Some people are ever learning but don't put it into action. They keep bringing materials to the building site but never build anything. If you do that long enough, fairly soon they'll come and take you away. You've got to do something with what you've learned. You've got to take action. Learn how to design your days, weeks, and months so that you take the proper action to get the proper return you're looking for, whether it's economic or personal. Get going. It's a major key. Let me show you what triggers all emotions into activity that brings results. And results are the name of the game. Here it is. Action. You must do something about how you feel. Jesus, the master teacher, said, don't just be listeners, be doers. The world admires the doers. Whatever it takes to get you to try harder, read more, set your goals, and go for it. The next attitude disease is overcaution. Some people will never have much because they're too cautious. You can also be too reckless, but you can be too cautious. This is called the timid approach to life. My caution was always the risk. Risk used to drive me right up the wall. I used to say, what if this happens? It's called the language of the poor. Then I discovered it's all risky. The minute you were born, it got risky. If you think trying is risky, wait till they hand you the bill for not trying. If you think investing is risky, wait till you get the tab for not investing. It's all risky. Getting married, having children, going into business, investing your money. It's all risky. Life itself is risky. You're not going to get out alive. The Englishman says, well, if that's the way it's going to work out, let's give it a go. Somebody says, yeah, but I'm looking for safety and security. Fine, then huddle in a corner. We'll cover you with a sheet, bring you 3 meals a day, and protect you. You'll probably live to be 100, but what a way to live. Don't ask for security, ask for adventure. Better to live 30 years full of adventure than 100 years safe in the corner. It's not important how long you live. What's important is how you live. The next attitude disease is pessimism. The deadly disease of always looking on the bad side, the problem side, the difficult side, and checking all the reasons why it can't be done. The poor pessimist leads an ugly life. He doesn't try to figure out what's right. He tries to figure out what's wrong. He doesn't look for virtue. He looks for faults. When he finds them, he's delighted. The pessimist rushes up and says, I've got 5 good reasons why it won't work. He's so dumb he doesn't know you only need 1. To the pessimist, the glass is always half empty. To the optimist, the glass is half full. Why would the same measure affect people 2 different ways? It all depends on how you look at it. Our lives are mostly affected by the way we think things are, not the way they are. Better thinking habits are crucial. Poor thinking habits keep most people poor, not poor working habits. Most people work hard, but they don't think hard. The mind is like a factory, a mental factory, and whatever you think about all day long pours ingredients into this mental factory. That's what builds the economic, social, and financial fabric of your life. As you think, so you become. When he talked about poor thinking habits, he had me. I used to start the day reading the morning newspaper, loading up on wars, riots, murders, stabbings, killings, bank robberies, muggings, car wrecks, and tragedies. I'd load up on all that and then start the day. You can imagine the kind of days I used to have. I walked around on my financial knees. The guy says, I want to be a great leader. Wonderful. The first thing we do is follow him to his house. We walk in and check his library first. Why check his library? Because what a man reads pours massive ingredients into his mental factory, and the fabric of his life is built from those ingredients. You would not believe what some people have got in their house to read. Trash. Can you imagine dumping a barrel of trash into this mental factory every day and coming out with a rich, dynamic, positive life? It can't be done. You might as well try making a cake with cement. Back in Danbury High School, kids asked me questions one day. One of them said, Mr. Rohn, how do you build the good life? I said it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Here's how you build anything. Select the right ingredients. Keep out the wrong ingredients. It starts with thought. Everything starts with thought. You must be wise and careful about what you think about because that starts everything. I asked the kids what would happen if somebody dropped sugar in my coffee. They said, you'd be okay. I said, what if somebody dropped strychnine in my coffee? They said, you'd be dead. I said, correct. Lesson 1. Life is both sugar and strychnine. You've got to be careful. I said, what if my worst enemy drops in the sugar? They said, you'd be okay. I said, what if my best friend, even by accident, drops in the strychnine? They said, you'd be dead. I said, correct. Lesson 2, watch your coffee. It doesn't matter who hands you the bad stuff, it will still do its damage. Mr. Schaff gave me one of the greatest phrases when I first met him. Jim, every day, stand guard at the door of your mind. Stand guard at the door of your mind and decide what goes into your mental factory. Don't let anybody dump anything they want into your mental factory because you've got to live with the results. Here's the last disease, and we're almost through. Engage in this one, indulge in it even slightly, and you might as well forget the future because it's going to forget you. Complaining, crying, whining, griping, murmuring. That will ace your future. Spend 5 minutes complaining, and you've wasted 5. You may have begun what's known as economic cancer of the bone. Surely they will soon haul you off into a financial desert and let you choke on the dust of your own regret. It's a deadly disease. If you don't think it's bad, ask the children of Israel of Old Testament fame. They were slaves. God performed a series of dazzling miracles and got them out, and now they're heading for the promised land. The tragedy of the story is they never got there. From day one, they started to complain. They griped about the water, the weather, the food, the leadership. They whined and cried because it was too far, too cold, too hot, too difficult, too miserable. They whined and cried for years. Finally, God said, I've had it. Trip canceled. They died in the desert, never reaching the promised land. This means that indulging in complaining long enough casts your future away. Now jot down these key ideas. Here's number 1. Work on your personal philosophy. The first thing you start changing is what? Your philosophy. You start changing your mind. You start changing how you think. You start picking up new ideas and information, gathering new knowledge, and make better decisions about what's valuable. And I'm telling you, if you'll do that, your whole life will change, your health will change, your relationship with your family will change, your ability to cope with challenges and problems will change. I'm telling you, income, promotions, all of it will change. If you will change, it'll all change. If you won't change, it isn't going to change. You can keep your fingers crossed if you want to and hope they'll straighten it out. You can wish for the wind not to blow quite as severely, but I'm telling you, wishing for the wind to change in your favor, we call naive at best. Don't do this any longer. Don't wish for a better wind. The key is to wish for the wisdom to set a better sail. Utilize whatever wind that blows to take you wherever you want to go. That is the philosophy I picked up at age 25, and it revolutionized my whole life. My mentor said, Mr. Rohn, you've been working 6 years. How are you doing? I said, not very well. He said, I suggest you not do that anymore. He said, couldn't we go over the last 6 years and find out where your errors in judgment were? And couldn't we correct those and invest that correction in the next 6 years? I said, I guess we could. Only humans can do this. See, if you were a tree, you'd be stuck, right? If you used up all the nourishment around, you couldn't move, then you would die. But that's not true. So however little, how much you want to change, that's up to you. But see, if there's a class and you don't take it, and a skill and you don't learn it, and a discipline and you don't try it, and if there's a possibility and you don't explore it, then who are we going to blame? Nobody but yourself. You know, we put some of the valuable things on the high shelf, so you can't get to until you qualify. If you want the things on the higher shelf, you've got to stand on the books you read. Every book you read, you get to stand a little higher so you can get the things on the higher shelf. Become a good reader. All of the successful people I know and work with around the world, they're all good readers. Curiosity drives them to read. They got to know. They just read. Did you know there's books on how to be stronger, more decisive, be a speaker, be a leader, have a better effect on other people, develop your personality? Did you know there's books on that and people don't read them? How would you explain that? And they can read. Did you know that hundreds of successful people have written their stories in books and they wrote down how they did it and people don't read it? How would you explain that? The guy's busy, I guess. You know, you get tied up. The guy says, well, if you work where I work, by the time you struggle home, it's late. You got to eat by supper, watch a little TV, get to bed. You can't sit up half the night reading. And the guy's behind on his car payment. Good worker, hard worker, sincere. But you got to be better than sincere and work hard. Otherwise, at the end of your life, you'll wind up cold, stony, broke. You got to be better than a good worker. You got to be a good reader. Now you don't have to read or listen to educational cassettes half the night. Although if you're broke, it's a good place to start. But here's all I ask. Just 30 minutes a day, that's all. Stretch it to an hour if you can. But at least 30 minutes. Hear or read something challenging, something instructional. At least 30 minutes a day. And here's the next key. Every day. Don't miss. Miss a meal, but not your 30 minutes. Hey, you can get along without some meals, but you can't get along without some ideas, examples, and inspiration. And also remember, to properly feed the mind, you must have good balance. Don't just read or listen to the easy stuff. You can't live on mental candy. Mr. Showoff got me started on my library when I first met him. He said to me, become self-educated. Standard education will get you standard results. Check those numbers and see if that's what you want. And if it isn't, if you want something better than standard, you must become self-educated. Showoff recommended a couple of books in particular to get me started. Now I had a Bible that's 66 books, so that was a pretty good start. But the first book Mr. Showoff told me to get was the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you don't already have it, it's a great one to add to your library. I read it several dozen times, Showoff said. Repetition is the mother of skill. And if you could have seen my bank account at the time, you would have known I needed lots of that kind of repetition. Some of the ideas in that book made major changes in my life. As I look back now, the book was worth thousands and I bought it for pennies. I learned a very valuable lesson. There can be a great deal of difference between cost and value. Before I met Mr. Showoff, I used to ask, how much does it cost? After I met him, however, I soon learned to ask, how much is it worth? I started basing my life on worth instead of cost, and everything changed. Here's the next one, attitude. It is our attitude toward life that will determine life's attitude toward us. Now, let's talk about the attitudes of successful people. They come in all shapes and sizes with widely varying degrees of intelligence, background, and so on. But they all share one thing in common. They expect more good out of life than bad. They anticipate success more than failure. If you want something worthwhile, adopt the attitude that there are far more reasons why you can achieve it than there are why you cannot, and then set out to earn it. Pursue it, work at it, ask for it, and 9 times out of 10, you will attain it. Now let me tell you about a little test you can conduct, which will prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that a good attitude can transform a person's life as dramatically as stepping from a darkened room into the bright, clear light of day. Here's the test. For the next 30 days, act toward the world, everything, and everyone you encounter with the attitude that represents the kind of results you want to achieve. If you seek more success in what you're doing, act as though you already possess the success you desire. If you desire admiration and respect from others, treat them with admiration and respect first. Have you ever considered that every human being on earth is the most important person on earth as far as he or she is concerned? You may never get anyone to admit it, but it's a fact. So for the next 30 days, treat every person you encounter as the most important person on earth. Remember that as far as they are concerned, they truly are. The reason I advocate, and it's primarily because this is how to treat each other. Additionally, it will help you form a habit that will yield amazing and delightful results for the rest of your life. Ever notice that you climb on the more pleasant people seem to become? The bigger the person, the easier it is to communicate with them, to get along with them, to conduct business with them. You know why? It's because they possess a good attitude, and people with the best attitudes naturally arise. So for the next 30 days, interact with others in the world at large in exactly the same manner you desire the world and others to interact with you. Treat your spouse as the most important person in your life. The same goes for your children. Project into the world each morning for 30 days the kind of attitude you would possess if you were the most successful human being on earth, and observe how quickly it evolves into a habitual attitude. When a person does this, they should realize they have already set themselves on the path to what they seek. They are currently among the top 5% of people in this or any other country. They have prepared the ground, planted the seed, and become a magnet, an embodiment of that which they seek. Just as before metal can be cast into a desired shape, the mold must first be fashioned. And before a building can be erected, the excavation must be made and the foundation laid. Before a person can achieve the kind of life they desire, they must become that kind of individual. They must think, act, talk, walk, and conduct themselves in all of their affairs as the person they wish to become. Then they are that person, and the things that person would have and do will naturally come to them almost immediately. A change will be noticed. Irritations that used to frustrate and annoy will disappear. Stay on track. When someone cuts in front of you with their car, or behaves in any other manner that reveals their ignorance and lack of courtesy. Do not allow yourself to descend to their level. Pity them, for that is what they truly deserve. The person who exhibits such behavior does not want to belong to the very group A they mimic. If they act like them, then they belong with them. There is nothing in the world that people want and need more than to feel important, needed, and respected. They will give their love, affection, respect, and business to the person who fulfills this need. So the magic word is attitude. If you will change, everything will change for you. You don't have to change what's outside. All you've got to change is what's inside. To have more, you simply have to become more. And then he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Wish. Don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills. Start working on yourself, making these personal changes. And he said, it'll all change for you. Life is serious. We're here to instruct, to grow, to learn, and to get the best we possibly can. It's important because some people do really well while others struggle. So let's think about that carefully. Winning or losing, succeeding or failing, it all matters. We need to take our future seriously for ourselves and our families. That's why the first step to having a great year is to get serious. Study, learn, grow, change, and develop. Don't forget to learn from your experiences. If you want to solve problems or seize opportunities, you need to keep learning. We can't just give you a plan and expect everything to work out. We have to spend time learning and improving. When things don't go well, don't give up. Learn from it and try again. This is how life changes for the better, by educating ourselves. Don't be lazy when it comes to learning and growing. That's why you've heard from people sharing their stories and ideas. Learning is the key to wealth and change. So let's learn, make our dreams come true, and get smarter together. A few simple disciplines practiced every day, and you've started a whole new process, a whole new life. And if you keep up that process, not only with your health habits, but with your money habits, your communication habits, your sales habits, management habits, and every other habit that you've got, if you'll start that process, eliminate the errors, and replace it with disciplines practiced, I'm telling you, you can start this process of life change immediately after today. You don't ever have to be the same again, only by choice, errors, and judgment. A few simple disciplines. Wealth beyond imagination. Let the miracle of everything that's available work for you, and start working on the inside. Work on your philosophy, work on your attitude, work on your personality, work on your language, work on the gift of communication, work on all of your abilities. And if you'll start making those personal changes, I'm telling you, everything will change for you. Work on yourself. Then you bring more value to the partnership, to the marriage, to the franchise, to the corporation, to the enterprise, to the community, to the nation. Self-development, personal development, the best contribution you can make to someone else is self-development. Not hasty if it isn't required, but don't lose much time. Here's the time to act. When the idea is hot and the emotion is strong, that's the time to act. Don't use the excuses they use. It's called the language of the poor. Switch gears, switch language, switch ideas, switch strategy. Start with the simplest of disciplines and don't demean any of these disciplines. The smallest of disciplines starts the process of life change. And if you'll invest in this thing called discipline, you can have whatever you wish. It's called the beginning of a miracle. If you will get better, everything will get better for you. What a clear message that was for me. He said, if you'll change your philosophy, if you'll change your habits, if you'll refine your thinking, if you'll change and accept some new disciplines, if you'll turn the corner where you've been in the past, go for a new life for the future. He said all kinds of remarkable things will happen for you if you will change. But for this whole process to work for us, we must first master the art of discipline. Self-discipline, consistent self-discipline. It doesn't really matter how smart you are or how much you know if you don't use it. It doesn't really matter that you graduated magnum laude if you're stuck in a low-paying job. It doesn't really matter if you attended every seminar that comes to town if you don't apply what you've learned. Better than knowledge is applied knowledge, and once we've applied our knowledge, we must study the results of that process, apply our knowledge, study the results, refine our approach. Finally, by trying and observing and refining and trying again, our knowledge will inevitably produce worthy results, admirable results. And with the joy and results of our efforts, we continue to apply, to learn, to observe, to fuel our ambition with the positive reinforcement of continued progress. Pretty soon, we'll find that we're swept into a spiral of achievement, a vertical rise to success. It takes consistent self-discipline to master the art of setting goals, to master the art of time management, to master the art of leadership, to master the art of parenting and relationships. If we don't make consistent self-discipline part of our daily lives, the results we seek will be sporadic and elusive. It takes a consistent effort to truly manage our valuable time, or we'll be consistently frustrated. Our time will be eaten up by others whose demands are stronger than our own. It takes discipline to conquer the nagging voices in our minds, the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of poverty, the fear of a broken heart. It takes discipline to keep trying when that nagging voice within us brings up the possibility of failure. It takes discipline to admit our errors and recognize our limitations. The voice of the human ego speaks to all of us sometimes. The voice of ego says that we should magnify our value beyond our results. It leads us to exaggerate, to not be totally honest. It takes discipline to be totally honest, both with ourselves and with others. It takes discipline to change a habit, because habits are formed a little bit each day, every day, every day. Once habits are formed, they act like a giant cable, like a nearly unbreakable instinct that only long-term disciplined activity can change. You just have to go home and make a list. After today, here's the question to ask as you make this personal list. What am I not doing that would be easy to do, that could greatly change my health, my wealth? What am I neglecting that would be easy to do? Just go home and answer that question personally. You don't have to put the answers on a public bulletin board. This is just all personal stuff. But here's how you get a miracle going for your life. Number 1, do what you can. Get a list of the stuff you could do and you haven't done, postponed, and start cleaning that up. You can't start at a better place for personal change that'll affect your bank account, affect your future, affect your income, affect everything. You can't start a better life change process than cleaning up what you should be doing. The man says, well, my mother lives down in Florida, should have written her 6 months ago. I just can't seem to get that letter written. I'm asking you to get that letter written, clean that up, and don't walk like other people walk. Don't postpone like other people postpone. You say, well, is it as simple as writing a letter? And the answer is yes. Where else would you start for life change, personal change? Number 2, do the best you can. If that's not your philosophy, I would ask you to amend it. Let me give you the best of ancient script. Here's what it says. Whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might, do it with all your strength, and do it with all your power. What a good philosophy. That kind of philosophy can revolutionize your life. If you haven't picked it up lately, the guy slips in late, comes late, doesn't seem to mind. Slips out early, first one in the parking lot, heading for happy hour, stretches his break, comes early for lunch, late back from lunch. Company doesn't seem to notice. Guy says, best as I can calculate, I'm putting in about a half a day's work and I'm collecting a full day's pay. Little does he know the seeds of his own disaster are already being sown by the weakness of his own personal philosophy. It's not the economy that's going to determine your next 6 years. It's your philosophy about labor, about activity, about miracle and soil and seed and sunshine and rain and the economy and the banks and the money and the companies and the schools and what's going on. It's your philosophy and your attitude and then your ability to take action. All of that we call the process of life change. Miracle working, consistent self-discipline. Set up a discipline when the emotions are high and the idea is strong and clear and powerful. That's the time to set up the discipline. Somebody talks about good health and you're stirred, right? I need to get a book on nutrition. Get the book before the idea passes, before the emotion gets cold. Go for the book. Start the library. Start the process. Fall on the floor. Do some push-ups. Action. You've got to take action. Otherwise, the wisdom is wasted. Otherwise, the emotion soon passes unless you put it into a disciplined activity. Capture it. Disciplines. It's called how to capture the emotion and how to capture the wisdom and translate it into equity. Disciplines. You start walking around the block. It'll inspire you to get an apple. Get an apple. It'll inspire you to get a book. Get a book. It'll inspire you to get a journal. Get a journal. It'll inspire you to grow, develop some skills. All disciplines affect each other. Every lack affects the rest. Every new affects the rest. The key is to diminish the lack and set up the new, and you've started a whole new life process. Here's the greatest value of discipline: self-worth, self-esteem. People are teaching self-esteem these days, but they don't connect it to disciplines. The slightest lack of discipline starts to erode our psyche. One of the greatest temptations is to just ease up a little bit. Right. The slightest lack of doing your best starts to erode the psyche. Instead of doing your best, doing just a little less than your best. Sure enough, you say, well, it's just going to affect my sales. No, it's going to affect your consciousness. It's going to affect your philosophy. Now, you've begun in the slightest way to affect your own philosophy. Here's the other side of discipline. If there's considerable time that passes between the moment of awareness and the time of our implementation, then that is called procrastination. Procrastination, doing it tomorrow instead of today. Procrastination, an almost exact opposite of discipline. The voice within us says, get it done. Discipline then says, do it now. Do it to the best of your ability. Today, tomorrow, and always, until finally the worthy deed becomes instinctive. Procrastination says, later, tomorrow, whenever I get a chance. Procrastination also says, do what is necessary to get by or to impress others. Do what you can, but not what you must. In every circumstance we face, we are constantly presented with these two choices. Do it now or do it later. Discipline and procrastination. A choice between a disciplined existence bearing the fruit of achievement and contentment or procrastination. The easy life for which the future will bear no fruit. Only the bare branches of mediocrity. The rewards of a disciplined life are great, but they're often delayed until sometime in the future. The rewards for the lack of discipline are immediate, but they are minor in comparison to the immeasurable rewards of consistent self-discipline. An immediate reward for lack of discipline is a fun day at the beach. A future reward of discipline is owning the beach. For most, we choose today's pleasure rather than tomorrow's fortune. So how can you get rid of the easy distractions? How can you keep your mind on what you're trying to do? How can you keep an attitude of doing it all and doing it now? How can you make the choice of discipline over procrastination? How can you stay focused on your ambitions? How can you avoid conversations at the water cooler? You can keep your focus on your work. You can get it done today instead of tomorrow. You've got to really work on your consistent self-discipline on a daily basis, or you'll find yourself distracted. Distracted by negative thoughts, distracted by negative people, distracted by water cooler chatter, and pretty soon, depending on the type of people you've associated with, distracted by your doubts within yourself. Never underestimate the power of influence in associations, and never underestimate the power of your own consistent self-discipline. Success is not about the amount, but the attitude. An attitude of continuous improvement and appreciation for life's blessings. It starts with changing our philosophy, our mindset, and our habits. The key is not neglecting to do the easy things that lead to success, for neglect leads to a downward spiral that affects every aspect of our lives. Discipline is crucial. It affects every area of our lives, and every action matters. The smallest action, taken consistently, can lead to profound changes. The greatest value of discipline lies in its ability to enhance our self-worth and self-esteem. By doing our best consistently, we strengthen our character and influence. In short, creating our best selves is a journey of self-discovery, personal growth, and transformation. It starts with a decision to take control of our lives and continues with goal setting, cultivating a positive mindset, and practicing self-care. Every setback is an opportunity to learn, and every victory, no matter how small, is worth celebrating. So embrace the journey, appreciate the blessings, and never stop evolving into the best version of yourself.